Captain Rian adjusted the controls of his ship, the starbound as it glided silently through the nebula expanse. The clouds of colorful gas stretched endlessly around him, glowing softly in shades of blue and violet. Most pilots avoided this sector because it was unpredictable, full of energy storms and rogue asteroids, but Ryan liked it. The silence, the endless stars, and the sense of being completely alone made him feel free. He leaned back in his seat and checked the ship's sensors again. Routine scans showed nothing unusual, just drifting rocks and the faint hum of distant stars. But then a flicker appeared on the monitor. A tiny blip of light moving in a pattern that did not match the drift of asteroids. Ryan frowned. "That is not natural," he muttered to himself. The signal was weak, almost like a distress beacon. No ship should be here. The nebula expanse was uncharted, dangerous, and mostly empty. Curiosity pulled him. He had a rule about helping anyone in distress, though most of the time it meant avoiding trouble. Ryan pressed a few buttons, bringing the signal into focus. It came from a small asteroid cluster about 10,000 kilometers away. He made a decision. "Set course," he said to the ship's AI, Nira. "Let's see who's calling for help." The starbound veered gently through the glowing clouds, engines humming. Ryan's mind ran through possibilities. A stranded pilot? A rogue smuggler? Maybe even a lost explorer. He kept his hand near his blaster just in case. As the ship approached the source, the sensor blip became clearer. It was not a ship, not exactly. The signal came from a figure floating in the void, surrounded by pieces of a broken spacecraft. Ryan's eyes widened. He had never seen anything like it. The figure was humanoid, but delicate and luminous. Long hair floated freely around the head, and her skin seemed to glow faintly in the dim light of the nebula. "AI, open external cameras," he said. The screen lit up, showing her clearly. She raised her head and looked directly at him. Ryan felt a strange chill run down his spine. Her eyes were bright, almost shimmering, and when they met his, it was like the stars themselves were staring back. Ryan blinked and shook his head. "Impossible," he whispered. Yet she was real, floating helplessly in space. Without hesitation, he maneuvered the ship closer. The controls felt heavy in his hands. He activated the tractor beam carefully, aiming to pull her aboard. The beam hummed, extending into the void, and slowly she began to move toward the ship. When she stepped onto the airlock, Ryan's heart skipped. She was smaller than he expected, graceful and quiet. Her movements were careful, almost cautious, but confident. She did not wear a spacesuit, only a simple tunic that shimmered faintly. Her hair settled around her shoulders as if it had a life of its own. "Who are you?" Ryan asked, keeping his voice calm though his mind raced. She tilted her head slightly, studying him. "My name is Mira," she said softly, her voice clear, melodic, and strangely comforting. "I need to get to the Andara system, please." Ryan frowned. "You just appeared out here in the middle of nowhere. No ship, no warning. How did you survive?" Mira did not answer directly. Instead, she stepped into the cabin, looking around curiously. Her eyes lingered on the control panels, on the stars outside, and on Ryan himself. She moved like someone who had seen more worlds than most humans could imagine. "I do not have much time," she said finally. "They are looking for me." "I cannot stay here." Rian's mind was spinning. He was not used to strangers, especially not strangers like Mira. Yet something about her made him trust her instinctively. Maybe it was the quiet confidence, the way she moved, or the feeling in his chest he could not explain. "All right," he said, stepping aside. "You can stay for now. But I need answers. Who is looking for you and why?" Mira nodded, seeming to understand the weight of his words. "Later, not here. They can track this ship. Right now we need to leave." Ryan hesitated, then activated the engines. The starbound rose out of the asteroid field, moving swiftly through the swirling nebula clouds. As they left the danger zone, he glanced at Mira. She was studying the stars again, her expression calm but distant. He noticed the faint glow that seemed to radiate from her skin. Her presence was unlike anything he had ever felt. "Why me?" he asked quietly, mostly to himself. "Why did you come to my ship?" Mira looked at him, her eyes meeting his. "You were the first to respond. You were the first to trust." The word settled in his mind. He had always been cautious, keeping others at a distance. Yet, here was someone who had appeared from nowhere, and he felt compelled to help her. For the rest of the night, they sat together in the cabin as the starbound glided through the nebula. Rian tried to ask questions, but Mira answered little. Instead, she watched the stars, touching the ship's controls lightly, as if she could feel the energy of the vessel. Ryan could not help but notice small things. How her fingers seemed to sense the ship's movements, how she predicted shifts in the nebula clouds, and how calm she remained even when a sudden asteroid field appeared on the scanners. It was almost as if she belonged here in the vastness of space. "You are not like anyone I have met," Ryan said finally, breaking the quiet. Mira turned to him, a faint smile on her lips. "And you are not like most humans. You survive here where others would fail. You are strong in ways you do not realize." Ryan laughed softly, a little embarrassed. "I am just careful. That is all." "Careful is not enough," Mira said softly, her voice carrying a weight he could not place. "You have courage. You act when others would hesitate. That is rare." Her words stayed with him, echoing in his mind as the starbound cut through the nebula like a streak of silver. For the first time in years, Ryan felt something unfamiliar, a spark of connection, of hope. He had been alone for so long that he had forgotten what it was like to share the silence of space with someone else. As they traveled further from the asteroid field, Ryan began to feel a sense of anticipation he had not expected. Mira was mysterious, yes, but she was also fascinating. Her presence made the stars seem brighter, the nebula more alive, and the endless void somehow less empty. Hours passed, and the ship hummed steadily. Mira moved through the cabin quietly, observing the controls and the viewports. Occasionally she would touch a panel or the ship's surface lightly, and Ryan noticed the way the energy readings shifted in response. "What are you?" he asked finally, unable to contain his curiosity. Mira paused, looking at him with a serious expression. "I am someone who has seen worlds beyond your imagination, someone who carries knowledge that many would destroy to possess, and now I am seeking refuge." Ryan nodded slowly. He did not fully understand her, but he knew he had made the right choice in helping her. In the vastness of space, trust was a rare commodity, and he had given it freely. As the starbound continued its journey, Ryan realized that this encounter would change everything. The quiet loneliness he had lived with for years felt different now. There was possibility, and with it, risk, but Ryan did not care about the risk. Mira was here, alive, and with her, the stars seemed full of new promise. He adjusted the course toward the Andara system, unaware of the challenges and dangers that lay ahead. He only knew one thing for certain: his life would never be the same again. And for the first time in years, Captain Ryan felt his heart skip. Not just a beat, but something deeper, something that stretched across light years, connecting him to the mysterious visitor who had appeared on his ship. The journey had begun, and neither of them could yet see where it would lead. The starbound sailed through the nebula, the glowing clouds reflecting off the sleek metal hull. Captain Ryan kept his hands steady on the controls, yet his thoughts drifted often to Mira. She moved quietly through the ship, touching panels and adjusting equipment with surprising ease. Ryan could not figure out if it was curiosity or something else. She was extraordinary, and he had no doubt that she was far from ordinary. "I still don't understand how you survived out there," Ryan said, breaking the silence as he adjusted the ship's trajectory to avoid a drifting asteroid cluster. Mira's eyes reflected the soft light of distant stars. "I am not like humans," she said calmly. "I can survive longer without the things you rely on. My people learned to adapt." Ryan raised an eyebrow. "Your people? You mean there are more like you?" Mira hesitated, looking out into the swirling clouds. "Yes, but few remain. My home is far, and there are those who do not wish me to return." Ryan felt a chill. Even in the safe cabin of his ship, he realized danger could follow them anywhere. He adjusted the shields and ran a full diagnostic on the ship's systems. "We need to stay alert," he said. "You are not just a passenger. If someone is hunting you, they will not stop at an asteroid field." Mira nodded, her face unreadable. "I know, that is why I came to you. You are different. You act with reason, not fear." Ryan was not used to compliments, especially not from someone so mysterious. "I do what I must," he said. "And right now that means keeping both of us alive." For the next few hours, the ship moved steadily through the nebula. Mira observed silently, occasionally touching the controls or sensors. She seemed attuned to the ship in a way Ryan had never seen before. Every time he changed direction, she would adjust panels without him asking. It was subtle, but he noticed. "You are good with this ship," he said, watching her work. Mira tilted her head slightly. "I have been in many ships. Yours is simple, yet capable, and you handle it well. That is why I trust you. The words struck Ryan. He had spent years alone in space, trusting no one, but here was someone who trusted him instantly, who relied on his skill and judgment. It was both thrilling and frightening. Their journey soon took a dangerous turn. The sensors detected a rogue energy vessel approaching fast, its origin unknown. Ryan tensed, gripping the controls. "Looks like trouble," he muttered. Mira's eyes narrowed. "They are tracking us," she said. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers." Ryan nodded and adjusted the engines, trying to weave through the nebula clouds. The rogue vessel fired a warning pulse, but the thick energy clouds made targeting difficult. Ryan relied on his experience, dodging drifting rocks and sudden bursts of ion storms. Mira leaned over the controls, her fingers hovering over the panels. "Shift power to the forward shields. Divert from the engines. Trust the flow of the nebula." Ryan did as she said. The shields glowed brighter and the ship tilted, almost dancing with the currents of the nebula. The rogue vessel struggled to maintain a lock, firing blindly into the mist. They escaped. Ryan exhaled, realizing Mira's advice had saved them. "You were right. I wouldn't have made it without you." Mira smiled faintly, but there was no arrogance in it. "We saved ourselves together. That is what matters." After the danger passed, Ryan turned to her. "I don't understand. You know things I cannot explain." "How?" Mira hesitated. "My people have abilities you cannot imagine. Some are natural, some are learned. I am not here to harm anyone, only to survive and return home." Ryan studied her, trying to see the truth in her words. He believed her. Somehow he knew that whatever Mira said was honest. But even as he trusted her, he could not ignore the warning. Someone out there wanted to stop her, and they would not be easy to evade. The hours turned into days as the Starbound glided through uncharted space. Ryan and Mira settled into a rhythm. He maintained the ship, navigated dangerous sectors, and kept them alive. She assisted quietly, offering insights he would not have considered, sometimes anticipating problems before they appeared. In the quiet moments, Ryan learned more about her. Mira had an endless curiosity about humans.
She asked about Earth, human history, and the ways humans had explored the stars.
Ryan explained in simple terms, but Mira listened intently, fascinated by every detail. "You are capable of much more than you know," Mira said one evening, as the stars streaked past the ship's viewports. "Humans are resilient, creative, and bold. That is why I am not afraid to trust you. You remind me of what my people once were." Ryan felt a deep sense of pride. Mira's words were not praise alone, they were recognition. For someone who had spent years alone in space, to hear that a being from another world saw potential in him, it was powerful. Days passed without incident. But the quiet was deceptive. The rogue vessel had not given up. Small disturbances appeared on the sensors, flecks of energy signals that suggested scouts, drones, or something else. Ryan kept the shields ready, engines at optimal efficiency, and his eyes on the monitors at all times. One evening, while Mira studied the navigation panel, the sensors lit up with a massive energy spike. Ryan froze. "Incoming!" he shouted. A massive vessel emerged from behind a nebula cloud, its design unlike anything Ryan had seen. Sleek, dark, and menacing, it moved with precision, matching the ship's every move. Mira stood beside him. "They found us," she said. Her voice was calm, but her eyes glimmered with intensity. "We cannot outrun them alone." Ryan clenched his jaw. He had faced pirates and rogue fleets before, but never anything like this. The ship's small weapons would not be enough to engage such a craft directly. Mira stepped closer to the controls. "Trust me," she said. "We can escape, but you must follow exactly what I say." Ryan did not hesitate. "Do it." The two worked together, combining human ingenuity and Mira's alien instincts. She instructed him to angle the ship through a series of unstable energy currents within the nebula. Ryan executed with precision, relying on every skill he had learned over years of solitary travel. The larger vessel followed, but it could not maneuver as swiftly. Energy pulses from the nebula disrupted its targeting systems, and Ryan felt a thrill of hope. "Now divert power to the aft shields," Mira shouted. Ryan complied. The ship tilted sharply, spinning through a cloud of ionized gas. The larger vessel struggled to maintain speed, and for a moment it seemed they might escape. Suddenly, the enemy fired a concentrated pulse. The Starbound rocked violently. Alarms blared, Ryan gritted his teeth, adjusting the shields and boosting engines. Mira's hands moved over the panels, channeling energy in a way that seemed to flow naturally. Together they dodged, twisted, and surged forward. Finally, the rogue vessel lost contact, disappearing into the nebula mist. Ryan collapsed into his chair, breathing heavily. Mira stood silently, her face calm. "That was close," she said softly. Ryan wiped sweat from his brow. "You saved us." "I don't know how, but you did." Mira's eyes softened. "We saved ourselves, together." For the first time, Ryan noticed how her presence made the endless void feel less lonely. Her calm, her skill, her quiet strength, it was remarkable. And yet, he knew that danger was far from over. As the Starbound continued its journey, Ryan felt something he had not expected. He realized that he was beginning to care, not just about survival, but about Mira herself. And in the vastness of space, with stars stretching in every direction, he felt a connection that went beyond words. The journey through the unknown had just begun, and with Mira by his side, Ryan understood that whatever lay ahead, they would face it together. Their trust had been forged in the fire of danger, and now their bond was stronger than the cold vacuum surrounding them. The stars outside the viewport shimmered, reflecting the light of hope and possibility. Ryan glanced at Mira, and for the first time, he allowed himself to believe that even in the darkest reaches of space, two beings from different worlds could find a shared path forward. And so, the Starbound sailed on, carrying its two passengers toward unknown adventures, toward challenges that would test their courage, and toward a future where trust, skill, and a shared heart would be the greatest weapons against the dangers of the universe. The Starbound moved through the quiet stretches of space, but the calm was only temporary. Captain Ryan had learned long ago that silence in the uncharted sectors often hid danger. His instincts, honed by years of solo travel, told him that trouble was still near. Mira sat at a viewport, her eyes reflecting the colors of distant stars. She was silent, yet her presence felt intense. Ryan studied her from across the cabin. There was something she had not told him, something about her past, about the people hunting her, that pressed invisibly against the calm of their journey. He finally broke the silence. "Mira, you need to tell me. Who is after you?" Mira turned slowly, her gaze steady. "They are remnants of my civilization," she said softly. "Not all of us left when my people went into hiding. Some stayed behind, but they chose a path of control and fear. I carry knowledge they want to use. If they find me, they will take it." Ryan swallowed hard. The vast expanse of space suddenly felt smaller, more dangerous. "Knowledge? What kind of knowledge?" She hesitated, her eyes distant. "Ways to travel faster than light. Ways to communicate across galaxies instantly. Ways to harness energy beyond what your science has achieved. It is powerful, and wrong hands could destroy countless lives." Ryan nodded slowly. He had always known humanity was not alone in the universe, but the scale of Mira's words shook him. And yet he felt a surge of resolve. Whatever threats came, he would not abandon her. The ship's sensors beeped sharply, pulling Ryan's attention. "Incoming," he said immediately. A small fleet of energy vessels appeared on the monitors, sleek and fast-moving, closing the distance with alarming speed. Mira's eyes narrowed. "They found us again. This time they will not hesitate," Ryan gritted his teeth. "We can't outrun them forever." "What do we do?" Mira moved to the controls, her hands flowing over the panels with precision. "We will outsmart them. Follow my lead exactly." The Starbound dove into a narrow asteroid belt, weaving between floating rocks and ionized gas clouds. Ryan followed her instructions without question. Mira's movements were almost instinctual, anticipating each danger before it arrived. She guided the ship through twists and turns that even Ryan would not have considered. One of the pursuing vessels fired a pulse, striking a nearby asteroid and sending fragments hurtling toward the Starbound. Ryan adjusted the shields just in time, feeling the impact reverberate through the hull. "They are fast," Ryan muttered. "But you are faster?" Mira's lips curved slightly. "Not faster, observant, careful. Human intuition helps too. You must trust yourself as much as you trust me." Ryan realized she was right. Even with her abilities, the ship's survival depended on their cooperation. He felt a growing respect for Mira, not just for her skill, but for her calm determination. Hours passed, and the fleet began to fall behind, confused by the nebula's shifting currents. Finally, Mira guided the Starbound into a narrow pocket of dark energy that cloaked them from sensors. Ryan exhaled heavily, leaning back in his chair. That was close, he said, wiping sweat from his brow. Too close, Mira remained calm. Close is the edge of learning. You adapted quickly. That is what will save us again if they return. Ryan nodded, but a question pressed on him. Mira, why are you alone? If your people are still out there, why did you come here? Mira looked away. Her gaze focused on the swirling colors outside the viewport. I left because I could not accept what they had become. I carry knowledge that should protect, not harm. But the moment I left, they saw me as a threat. I had to hide, to find allies who could survive the journey with me. Ryan felt a mixture of admiration and worry. Mira's courage was remarkable. She had left everything familiar, risking everything to protect knowledge that could help many, not just herself. We'll get through this, he said, more to himself than to her. I'll make sure of it. Mira's eyes met his, and for a brief moment the distance between them seemed smaller. I trust you, Ryan, more than I have trusted anyone in a long time. Ryan's heart skipped. He had spent so long alone that hearing those words made something deep inside him stir. There was no room for hesitation, no time for doubt. Not when survival depended on focus, skill, and trust. Suddenly the ship shook violently. A pulse hit the hull and warning lights flashed red. One of the pursuing vessels had managed to get a lock through the nebula's currents. Divert all power to the engines. Ryan shouted, gripping the controls tightly. Mira worked beside him, guiding the energy flow to the shields while suggesting rapid maneuvers. The ship twisted and surged, dodging the incoming attack. Energy arcs flashed across the nebula clouds, painting the darkness with dangerous light. You can do this, Mira called, her voice steady. Keep moving, keep thinking. Ryan focused, combining his instincts with Mira's instructions. They moved as one, navigating the chaotic maze of asteroids and energy bursts. The pursuing vessel fired again, but this time Mira anticipated the strike, directing Ryan to adjust the shields at the perfect angle. The pulse struck the shields and bounced harmlessly into space. For a moment, the two sat in tense silence, catching their breath. Ryan looked at Mira, amazed. I don't know how you do it. You're incredible, Mira shook her head. I have learned to survive. You do too, even if you do not realize it. The calm did not last. The sensors beeped again. This time the threat was closer and more coordinated. Ryan's mind raced. They could not continue to outrun them indefinitely. They needed a plan, not just speed. Mira, tell me what we can do, he said urgently. We cannot fight them head on. We are too small. Mira thought for a moment. We will need to use a hidden path. There is a sector of the nebula with strong gravitational anomalies. We can use it to hide, to turn the hunters against each other. Ryan's brow furrowed. Risky. Yes, Mira admitted. But the alternative is worse. They will keep following, and eventually we will be caught. Ryan nodded. He trusted her judgment. Do it. With precise coordination, they maneuvered the starbound toward the gravitational anomalies. Mira guided Ryan through a twisting path, each move calculated to take advantage of the nebula's natural turbulence. The pursuing vessels struggled to follow, colliding with minor debris and energy distortions. Finally, they reached a dark pocket of space, where sensors could not penetrate, and energy readings were chaotic. Ryan set the ship to hover, monitoring the nebula for signs of movement. Mira exhaled quietly. We are safe for now. But they will return, and next time they will come with more force. Ryan looked at her, determination hardening in his chest. Then we will be ready. Whatever comes, we face it together. Mira's lips curved into a small smile. Together, she agreed. Hours later, as the nebula shifted and the starbound floated in temporary safety, Ryan allowed himself to reflect. Mira was more than just a survivor. She was a being of strength, skill, and knowledge that could change the course of history. And in her presence he felt something new. Hope, trust, and an unfamiliar warmth in his chest. He realized that this journey was no longer just about survival. It was about learning from each other, about combining human courage with alien wisdom, and about forging a bond that could endure the dangers of the galaxy. Ryan glanced at Mira, seated quietly near the viewport. She was studying the stars as if searching for something familiar, something home, and for the first time he understood why he had been drawn to her. She was not just a passenger or a mystery. She was a partner in this journey, a guide through the unknown, and perhaps the first friend he had truly trusted in years. The nebula outside shifted in shades of deep violet and soft blue. The stars twinkled faintly, reminding them both of the vastness of the universe and the challenges yet to come. Ryan tightened his grip on the controls, feeling a renewed determination. "We will make it," he whispered to himself. "No matter what comes, we will make it." And Mira, watching the stars with quiet focus, felt the same certainty. Their path was dangerous, but together, they could face the shadows that hunted them. Together, they could survive. Together, they could reach the Andara system and perhaps something more. The Starbound drifted through the nebula, carrying two travelers bound by trust, courage, and a shared determination to face the unknown. The Starbound drifted in the calm pocket of the nebula, the chaotic energy currents outside fading into gentle glows. Captain Rian leaned back in his seat, finally allowing himself a moment of rest. But his mind was restless. Mira had shared more than before, yet much of her past remained a mystery. He glanced at her. Mira was standing near the viewport, her hands lightly brushing against the glass as she observed the swirling colors of the nebula. There was a strange intensity in her gaze, as if she were reading more than just light and gas. She seemed both fragile and strong, an enigma that Ryan could not stop thinking about. "Mira," he said carefully, "I know you cannot tell me everything, but I need to understand a little more. Why did your people leave? Why did only some stay behind?" Mira turned, her expression serious. "Our civilization once spread across many systems. We studied the stars, learned their secrets, and shared knowledge. But some of us wanted power, control, not harmony. I could not follow that path. I left because I could not be part of something that would harm others." Ryan nodded slowly. He understood the weight of her words. She was carrying more than herself. She carried responsibility, secrets, and a legacy. "And now they want to stop you because of what you know," he said. "Yes," Mira replied softly. "And I cannot let them. Not because I am brave, but because what I carry is needed to protect many worlds, including yours." Rian felt a surge of respect for her. She had risked everything to preserve knowledge, to protect life. He realized that she trusted him because she knew he would understand, and perhaps because he had already proven that he could survive anything the universe threw at him. Their quiet was interrupted by a series of soft beeps from the ship's sensors. Rian straightened. "We have a visitor," he said cautiously. Mira moved to the panel beside him. Her fingers danced across the controls and the display zoomed in on a small vessel approaching. It was sleek, dark, and silent, moving with precision. Not the same fleet as before, but clearly not friendly. "They are scouts," Mira said. "They will report our position unless we act quickly." Ryan's mind raced. "We can't fight them directly. Our ship is too small." "No," Mira agreed, "but we can hide. There is a planet nearby with a magnetic field strong enough to scramble sensors. If we descend carefully, they will lose our trail." Ryan hesitated. Descending into a planet's atmosphere was risky. Any miscalculation could destroy the Starbound. Yet he trusted Mira. He nodded. "Do it." With precise coordination, they guided the ship toward the planet. The magnetic field caused flickering on the sensors, forcing them to rely on skill and intuition. Ryan maneuvered through turbulence, following Mira's instructions as she read the currents of energy like a map. Finally, the ship hovered just above the surface. The magnetic field scrambled signals effectively. The small vessel scanned briefly, then moved on, unable to detect them. Ryan exhaled. "That was close," Mira smiled faintly. "We are safe for now. But this is only a temporary solution. We need a longer plan." Ryan leaned against the controls, exhaustion creeping in. "Then we rest here, gather strength, and plan. Together." Mira nodded. Together. The next hours were quiet. Ryan and Mira worked side by side, repairing minor damages from their escapes and preparing for the journey ahead. In the process, Rian noticed more about Mira. She was not just skilled and knowledgeable, but attentive and thoughtful. She studied the ship's systems, predicting problems before they arose. He realized that her calmness was not just patience, it was experience shaped by necessity. Later, as the ship hovered safely above the planet, Mira finally began to open up further. "There is something I need to show you," she said. Ryan's curiosity piqued. "What is it?" Mira gestured to a small device she pulled from her tunic. It glowed softly, projecting a holographic map of stars, planets, and vast energy currents. "This is my people's network," she explained. We could travel across these systems almost instantly, communicate across light years, and harness energy in ways that could protect or destroy worlds. Ryan stared, fascinated. And your enemies want this? Yes, Mira said. If they get it, they could control entire regions of space. That is why I cannot let them catch me. That is why I trusted you. You have the courage and the mind to help me protect it. Ryan felt a mix of awe and determination. Mira had shown him something beyond human understanding, and yet she trusted him to help carry this responsibility. He realized the bond between them had deepened. It was no longer just survival. It was partnership. Suddenly, the ship shuddered. Alarms rang. Another vessel, Ryan shouted. Mira's eyes were sharp. It's smaller than the others. Likely a scout sent to track us. But it is dangerous. They are persistent, Ryan's mind raced. They could not keep running. They needed a strategy. Mira, can we use the planet's terrain to our advantage? Yes, she said. Follow my lead. We will use the magnetic storms here. They will interfere with their sensors, and we can strike strategically if needed. Ryan followed her instructions exactly. He dove the ship low, skimming above the planet's surface as magnetic storms raged. The small scout vessel attempted to follow but struggled against the shifting currents. Ryan adjusted the engines and shields while Mira calculated the safest path. In a daring move, they led the scout into the heart of the magnetic storm. Sensors failed. Energy pulses struck the vessel and it spun away, unable to maintain control. Ryan and Mira watched cautiously as it disappeared into the storm. That was close, Ryan said, leaning back. Too close, Mira's face softened. We are learning. Together we can survive anything. But the real test will come when we face the ones who truly seek me. Ryan nodded. He had seen her in action, guiding the ship, reading the currents of energy, predicting danger. He realized that Mira's abilities were remarkable, but they worked best when combined with his human intuition and experience. That was the key, the bond between them. As the storm subsided, they sat in quiet reflection. Mira looked at the stars outside the viewport, her expression thoughtful. Ryan, you have strength beyond what you know. You adapt, improvise, and you trust in ways that are rare. That is why I chose to come to you. Ryan felt warmth in his chest. I am not sure why you trust me so quickly. But I know this, I will not let anything happen to you. Not here, not anywhere. Mira's lips curved slightly, a small, genuine smile.
And that is enough.
For now, that is all I need. Hours passed. The starbound remained hidden. Repairs were made and plans for the journey ahead were discussed. Mira shared more about the dangers that lay ahead, the remnants of her civilization still seeking her, and the knowledge they would risk everything to claim. Ryan listened, absorbing every detail. The stakes were higher than he could have imagined, yet he felt ready. He had Mira beside him, and together they could face the unknown. Finally, Mira approached him. Ryan, there is something else, a test. Not of skill or courage, but of trust. The next step will require complete reliance on each other. We will need to act without hesitation, without doubt. Ryan looked into her eyes. He saw determination, wisdom, and something else. Something unspoken. A connection that transcended the dangers they faced. I trust you, Mira, he said simply. And I trust you, she replied. The bond between them solidified, not just as companions in space, but as partners who would face the shadows of the galaxy together. Whatever threats awaited, they would confront them side by side. The starbound hovered silently above the planet, stars twinkling in the distance, nebula clouds glowing faintly. Ryan and Mira knew the journey ahead would be dangerous. They knew that their enemies would not give up. But they also knew one thing. They had each other, and that made them stronger than any force in the universe. The next step was unknown. The challenge is immense, but their resolve was unshakable. And as the nebula shimmered around them, Ryan felt a sense of hope he had not known for years. Together they would face the unknown. Together they would survive. Together, they would see the Andara system and the truths Mira carried. The test of trust had begun, and neither of them would fail. The stars stretched endlessly across the blackness of space as the starbound glided silently through the void. Ryan sat in the captain's chair, his hand steady on the controls. The hum of the engines filled the cabin like a quiet heartbeat. Across from him, Mira studied the navigation screen, her calm focus guiding their way toward the Andara system. The past few days had been full of danger, but now, There was a rare sense of peace. Ryan had come to trust Mira completely. She had saved his life more than once, and he had risked everything to protect her. Between them, a silent understanding had formed, one built from courage, respect, and something deeper neither could yet name. "Almost there," Ryan said, breaking the silence. "One more jump," Mira nodded. "Once we reach Andara, the network must be sealed. If the others find it, they will use it to control entire star systems." "I cannot allow that," Ryan looked at her. "Then we finish this together," Mira smiled faintly. Together, the starbound entered hyperspace, light bending and stretching around them. The view outside turned into streaks of blue and silver as they traveled faster than thought. Ryan watched the stars flow by, thinking of how much had changed since the day he found Mira drifting in space. Back then she had been a mystery, a problem to solve. Now she felt like part of his crew, part of his life. The ship dropped out of hyperspace near the edge of the Andara system. What they saw made both of them pause. Before them floated a shattered world, surrounded by glowing debris. A storm of light swirled around the remains as if the planet itself was alive. Mira's expression grew distant. "This was once my home," she whispered. "Andara Prime. Long ago it was full of light and song. Now it is only memory." Ryan felt a quiet ache in his chest. "I'm sorry." Mira shook her head gently. "Do not be. The fault was not yours. What matters now is what we do next." Sensors began to flash warnings. Multiple signals appeared on the edge of the system. Ryan frowned. "They found us, how?" "They followed the energy trail from the network device," Mira said. "It seems they are desperate." Ryan tightened his grip on the controls. "Then we give them something they won't forget." The enemy ships grew larger on the screen, sleek, dark crafts armed with advanced weapons. They surrounded the starbound like a tightening net. Ryan's pulse quickened, but his mind was clear. He had been in worse fights, but never one that felt this personal. "Mira, can you link your system with the ship's main computer?" he asked quickly. "Yes, but it will take focus," she said. "Do it. I'll handle the flying." The cabin lights dimmed slightly as Mira connected her energy to the starbound. A soft glow spread through the control panels, and for a moment the ship seemed alive. Ryan could feel the difference. The engines hummed with greater power, and the sensors expanded their reach. The enemy opened fire. Beams of light streaked through space, slicing past the ship. Ryan rolled hard to the left, then upward, the engines roaring as the starbound dodged one attack after another. Mira's voice was calm beside him, guiding his moves with precision. "Two on our right," she said. "Angle 25 degrees up." "Fire now." Ryan obeyed, and the ship's cannons blazed. One enemy vessel exploded in a bright flash. Another pulled back, damaged. For a moment it felt like victory, but more ships appeared, far too many to fight. Mira's expression grew grave. "We cannot defeat them all, but we can stop their goal. The network hub is here, hidden beneath Andara's ruins. If we reach it first, I can shut it down forever." "Then that's where we go," Ryan said firmly. He accelerated toward the planet's remains, weaving through falling debris and bursts of plasma fire. The ship shuddered but held strong. As they entered the atmosphere, glowing dust surrounded them, casting the cockpit in golden light. "Mira, hold on," Ryan warned. "I trust you," she replied softly. They broke through the clouds and descended toward the surface. The ruins stretched below them, towers half buried in sand and light, remnants of a civilization that had once ruled the stars. In the center stood a massive structure pulsing with faint blue energy. "That is the hub," Mira said. "If I reach its core, I can shut it down." Ryan landed the ship on a flat ridge near the structure. The ground trembled beneath them. Outside, the sky darkened as the enemy ships closed in. Ryan and Mira stepped out together. The air shimmered with heat and power. Mira's eyes glowed faintly as she walked toward the structure, the energy reacting to her presence. "Can you really do this?" Ryan asked. "Yes, but once I start, they will detect us," she said. "You must protect the ship until it's done." Ryan nodded. "Then let's finish this." Mira entered the structure, her form bathed in soft light. Ryan ran back to the ship and powered up the defenses. The enemy arrived moments later, sleek fighters circling overhead ready to strike. The sky erupted with fire. Ryan fired the starbound's cannons, hitting one, then another, but there were too many. The ship shook as blasts struck its hull. Ryan gritted his teeth and pushed the engines beyond safety limits. He refused to retreat. Inside the ruins, Mira stood before the glowing core of the network hub. Streams of light swirled around her as she placed her hands on the control surface. Ancient symbols appeared, reacting to her touch. She closed her eyes and focused, sending her energy deep into the system. Ryan's voice crackled through the communicator. "Mira, we're taking heavy fire." "How much longer?" "Almost done," she answered, her voice calm but strained. "Hold on, Ryan." Ryan gave a small smile despite the chaos. "I'm not going anywhere." The ship was hit again, alarms blaring. Ryan struggled to keep it steady. His vision blurred from the strain, but he refused to stop fighting. He fired one last burst, destroying a nearby fighter before another explosion rocked the hull. Smoke filled the cockpit. Then suddenly everything stopped. The enemy ships froze mid-flight. The energy readings dropped. The bright lights in the sky dimmed until the only glow came from the hub below. Mira's voice came through the comm, soft and tired. "It's done. The network is sealed. They can no longer use it." Ryan leaned back, exhausted but relieved. "You did it." Moments later, Mira appeared at the ship's entrance. She looked drained, but her eyes were bright. "It is over," she said softly. Ryan stepped forward and smiled. "You saved more than your people today. You saved everyone." Mira shook her head gently. "We did. You were the strength I needed when I had none left." Ryan looked out at the stars beginning to appear again above the planet's horizon. "So what happens now?" "I can rebuild what was lost," Mira said. "But I do not have to do it alone anymore." Ryan met her gaze. For a moment, the silence between them was deep and warm. The stars reflected in her eyes like distant promises. He smiled faintly. "If I ever doubted what humanity could become, I don't anymore. We may not have power like yours, but we have something else. Heart." Mira nodded slowly. "That is what makes you remarkable, Ryan. When I first appeared on your ship, I did not expect to find someone who would change the way I see the universe. But you did." Ryan's chest tightened. "And you changed mine. I thought I'd seen everything worth seeing out here. I was wrong." Mira looked at him for a long moment, then smiled. A rare, gentle smile that carried gratitude and something more. "Then let us see the rest together," Ryan grinned. "I like that idea." They returned to the starbound and lifted off from the ruined planet. The engines hummed softly and the view ahead opened wide to endless stars. Behind them, the old network faded into silence, sealed forever. Ahead lay new worlds, new possibilities. As they entered open space again, Ryan glanced at Mira. "So where to next?" Mira's eyes sparkled. "Anywhere your heart takes us." The starbound accelerated forward, stars stretching into lines of light as they jumped into hyperspace. In that moment, Ryan felt it again, that strange, powerful feeling that had started the first time she appeared on his ship. His heart skipped light years, and for once it felt right. He smiled as the universe unfolded before them, endless and full of promise.